This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description. Hello and welcome everyone to our 133rd session of HalloCasa. My name is Michael and today I'm talking to Andrea Saenz from New York. Andrea is a native New Yorker who was born and raised in Brooklyn and has lived in several Manhattan neighborhoods for over 20 years. Andrea currently lives on the Upper West Side with her family. Over the course of her time in New York City, she has rented, bought, and sold own apartments, so is familiar with the real estate process and the trials and tribulations it entails. As a result, Andrea provides an experience that is calm and stress-free for buyers and sellers. Andrea, I'm happy to have you on the show. I always love to talk with people from Manhattan. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello. I mean, you did a pretty good job, but I am Andrea Saenz. I am impressed that you said my name correctly. Most people don't. I am a licensed real estate agent in New York. I focus mainly on the borough of Manhattan. I'm not sure. Most people, when they think of New York City, they think of only Manhattan, but there are 5 boroughs. I've been in the real estate business about 7 years, not my first career. And I love doing it. It is New York City. I mean, every day is interesting. Every day is different. The people I get to meet are amazing. I love doing real estate in New York.
How is it to live in the Upper West Side?
The Upper West Side is great. So I am surrounded by parks. On one side, I have Central Park, which is probably one of the world's most famous parks. I'm a block away, and a couple of blocks further west is Riverside Park, which is on the Hudson River. So most people also don't think of New York City as having nature, but I am surrounded by parks. The neighborhood is very multicultural. There's tons of restaurants, shopping. It really feels like a New York neighborhood. High buildings, not so many skyscrapers as in Midtown, but a lot of brownstones and mid-level buildings.
Beautiful. And you're covering which areas in Manhattan? All over it, or are you focusing on certain?
So I like to say a couple of things about my business, that I focus on the people I work with, not the neighborhoods. As you mentioned, I'm a native New Yorker. I know New York very well. I have sold from the tip of the island, so all the way down in Wall Street, all the way up to Morningside Heights, which is about 180th Street. I've sold on Riverside Boulevard, which is about as far west as you can get in New York City. It's overlooking the Hudson River. And I've sold on Sutton Place, which is as far east as you can get in New York City because it's on the East River. So the entire 27 miles of Manhattan.
And regarding your services, give us an overview there, what you're basically offering, and how can basically also what can people expect from you when they work with you?
Okay, so I work with both buyers and sellers. Let's talk about buyers. I am a very good listener. I listen to what you tell me, and then I take you to where I think you need. I always start with what you think you need, but I think I know better, and usually I am correct. I'm very patient. New York City, it takes a long time to buy an apartment in New York City. Even if you find one on your first day out, you're not going to close for at least 3 months. So it's a long process. I really get to know my buyers very well. Most of them become friends because I spend so much time with them, looking at apartments, talking with them. I'm full service. I work 24/7. If you're stressed and you're calling me at 9 o'clock at night, I'm going to answer the call because I understand it's a very stressful process. I mean, buying real estate anywhere, you're spending the most amount of money as you ever had. In New York, that's more than most other places. So I get really involved. I listen. Because I've lived in this city for so long, I also have a great team of referrals that I can give, from lawyers and accountants to tutors, and I know restaurants and museums and maybe off the beaten off the beaten path spaces as well.
Um,
Uh, yeah.
that's thank you so much. What is basically right now the situation in the real estate in Manhattan at the moment? How can you, in a
So
nutshell, you describe it?
yeah, it's in a nutshell, it's a little weird. Um, I want to say it's a buyer's market because it's a buyer's market inventory, but inventory is tight. Usually when inventory is tight, it's more of a seller's market, but a lot of people who refinanced or bought when mortgage rates were low in the freeze a couple of years ago, they don't want to sell. And apartments are sitting. So buyers have a little bit of an edge right now. But that being said, it also depends on the building, the apartment, the price point, the the condition of the apartment. If it's a brand new, newly renovated apartment that's priced well at any price point, it's going to go quicker than something that needs work. Buyers don't really want to do renovations right now. They're very expensive and it takes a long time. So I hate to say it, but it really depends on what you're looking for. I've worked with buyers and we got into a bidding war on a certain property. And then other properties, for no apparent reason, are sitting for months. So that's why you really need an expert, someone who understands what's happening.
Regarding your selling process also for
Mhm.
sellers, but also for
Yes.
buyers, what are mainly the tools you're using and which you can maybe also recommend for both sellers and buyers, but also even other real estate agents to use so that you get the most out of it? I know it's a people's business. It's the most important
Yeah.
thing is to be there in front of the people. But on the other hand, it's also always sometimes interesting to see like what for tools and software is key in order to sustain this market.
Right. So I work for a large company, Brown Harris Stevens, and they have a lot of proprietary software that we use. So we have our own listing system to help, for instance, with sellers for comps. You know, we have our own marketing department that helps with like beautiful print materials, which when people are coming into open houses, especially if it's a high end, they like to see some of that. We have a website that is really state of the art and very professional looking. Um, I mean, and all of this comes from company, so I can't really share a website, but I think it's really important um, wh when listing an apartment for sale to look at the condition and have a good conversation with the owners. I am a very big proponent of staging. I think staging is so important. And a lot of times when you're living it's your home. You don't want someone to tell you that's ugly or get rid of something, it's too cluttered, but you have to take a step back and be unemotional. And from experience, and even if it's an empty home, people don't have vision. They can't see where their furniture belongs. And if it's overcluttered or someone's specific taste, they can't imagine living there. So I really think staging is very important. And I work with various stagers. So I could do something, from an empty apartment, or I have someone come in, work with what the owners have, and maybe just take out a lot of furniture, move furniture around so the placement's different, maybe add some different artwork. If they're totally against staging because they don't want to spend the money, which I think is really minimal compared to the payout you'll get at the end, we also have virtual staging services. I don't love that because I feel like people look at the virtual staging and say, oh my God, that apartment's beautiful. And then they walk in and they're like, this isn't the same apartment. It feels a little bit like a bait and switch sometimes, but I think it is as long as you have the real pictures with the virtual stage pictures, I think it can help people figure out what the potential in apartment is.
Makes total sense. You mentioned before like different types of units. Can
Yep,
you
co-ops, condos.
can you give us an overview there, which is very particular regarding New York City, correct?
It is very, yes. So let me start with the majority of homes for sale in New York City are apartments. They're not single family homes. Okay. Then we get even more specific in that there are two types of apartments you can buy. One is called a co-op and one is called a condo. I think the word condo, many people just interchange for an apartment, but in New York City, it's two separate entities. So now we're talking about all the apartments for sale in New York City. 75% of them are co-ops. So there are many more co-ops than condos. Now, a co-op stands for corporation. You're not actually buying an apartment. You don't get a deed to a home. You get a stock and lease. You're buying shares in a corporation. Yes, of course, you still own it, but that's the legal way of talking about it. And what that really means is now you're buying shares in an apartment, there's a co-op board. So you can't just walk into an apartment and say, I'm going to pay this much for it. You then have to get approved by a co-op board. And the way you do that is twofold. There's a very lengthy co-op board application where they ask for a ton of financial information, tax returns, pay stubs, letters of recommendation from friends, and letters of recommendation from professionals. They ask for bank statements, income, everything. I mean, they're really digging deep. And then as your real estate agent on the buyer's side, I get all that information together. This stack full of paper, and it then goes to a management company that reviews it to make sure everything's there. Then it goes to the co-op board and they review it. And then they ask for an interview. And most of my interviews have been very sane, but there have been some crazy questions that people ask on interviews. But mostly they just want to see that the people on paper are the people in real life. And then they get to decide if you're worthy of living in that building. So you could have all the money in the world and get rejected. I mean, famously, Madonna got rejected from a co-op. They didn't want the parties. So
And who's the board or who's the deciding factor then? Who's representing the co-op?
it's people who live in the building.
Okay.
You have to get voted in, but they don't necessarily have any specific backgrounds. I mean, yes, usually there's a lawyer, maybe an accountant, but it could be a stay-at-home mom. It could be someone who works in fashion. It's just someone who's working for free to be part of this board to make sure the building is run correctly, make sure co-op board applications, but you don't get paid to do it.
And what is basic? Is it also then the fact when I just say I want to invest and then rent it out, does it still affect me?
Yes, that's a very good question. So in a co-op, most co-ops do not allow investors. They have very specific rules. Some of them won't even allow a pied-à-terre, which just means a second home. They want first-time homeowners in it. They don't want renters. Sometimes parents make a lot of money. They want to buy an apartment for their child who's going to NYU. Some co-ops won't allow that because they don't want a student living in the building. They want people with jobs living in the building.
Okay.
So that's why condos still have a little bit of an application and a board process, but you can buy and immediately rent. It's for investors. There's no interview. It's a lot more lenient. They just want to make sure you have the money to buy the apartment. So you either just prove to them through bank statements or a mortgage pre-approval letter that you can buy the apartment. They'll ask sometimes for some pay stubs and things like that, but it's not as thorough.
I understand. Now,
And just one more thing.
Yeah.
Before, so let's just say there was a co-op and a condo, apples to apples, they were exactly the same apartment. The condo would be approximately 20 to 25% more expensive than the co-op.
because of taxes, or is that
No, just in price, nothing to do with taxes.
Okay. So I would definitely always go, the co-op is more expensive or the condo?
Co-op is less expensive.
Okay, yeah, that's why it's also probably more difficult to get in. Okay, understood.
Yes.
Can you give us an average apartment in maybe in the Upper West Side with price?
1.5 million to 2 million,
How much?
depending on location and condition.
How much down payment do I need in New York City?
So again, that's the difference between a co-op and a condo. Co-ops tell you how much you need to put down. So even if you can get pre-approved for a mortgage at a 3.5% down payment as a first-time home buyer, co-ops want nothing to do with that. So generally, it's 20, the least amount is 20%, average is 20 to 30%, and some buildings, like Park Avenue buildings, the fancier ones, want at least 50%.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And condos, it's generally 10%.
Okay. Regarding the market price and the entire situation, where do you think is the New York City real estate market heading, maybe for the end of the year and also then starting next year?
So it's going, I think right now it's pretty stable. I think where prices are now, they're pretty much going to stay till the end of the year. I think until the election is done and people are a little nervous. I'm not really sure why, but they are. And I think prices are going to stay pretty stable. Mortgage rates just went down, which is great. I think that's going to help with inventory. I don't think it's going to change prices that much. But I do hope in the new year, prices are going to go up slightly. They were down for the past couple of years, so I do see an upward trajectory. But I don't think it's going to be a huge jump, but slight. I do see it going up slightly.
I have a question regarding jumping into real estate in New York City. You have now a lot of experience. If someone would like to start as a real estate agent, what would you suggest him or her?
So I wish someone suggested this to me. I didn't know anyone when I started. New York, people watch TV. I don't know if you get these reality TV series where you are, $1 million listing, selling New York. It's all fake. People watch it and they think they could become rich quick selling real estate in New York City. It's very difficult. Everyone in New York City knows a real estate agent. It's hard to break through, even with your sphere of influence. It's not easy. So I suggest that anyone who's interested join a team. It's a great way to learn the business, to get the experience, to not have the stress of making your own money and closing your own deals. You're learning from someone who's been in the business, hopefully a long time, and has their book of business, is always busy, always moving. That's really the best way to learn, is to join a successful team. That's what I would suggest. If someone thinks they could do it on their own, good for them, let them try and just be really nice to the people they work with and offer their time to do open houses and just learn that way. But it's tough. It takes a long time to break into this business.
Sounds very good. I have another question about Brown Harris Stevens. Can you give me an overview why you chose to join? What are the benefits? What are the reasons? And yeah, basically like as an agent or slash employer?
Brown Harris Stevens is one of the oldest privately held companies in New York City. It's also well regarded and known as one of the higher end, more luxurious firms that sells high end real estate. I think in New York City, it's really important to have a brand behind you because New Yorkers know those brands and know what they stand for. So I chose Brown Harris Stevens because they have an excellent reputation. They've been around, they're well established. Also, their marketing is top notch and they give really good support when needed. If I have an idea that I want to run with, I call marketing and they help create, a marketing piece for me, something to post on my Instagram. They have a design studio. So all those things together. That's why I chose Brown Harris Stevens.
I really appreciate so far the conversation, and I learned a lot already. You gave us a very interesting overview of why you jumped into real estate, the real estate market right now, the prices, the difference between condos and co-ops, and also the quick overview of the price and also the trends, finishing up with good reasons also to basically be a real estate agent in New York City, and also join Brown Harris Stevens. As a conclusion, some final thoughts maybe. Is there anything you would like to share with the audience which we haven't touched upon yet?
Oh, I don't think so. I just want to say that I really believe in buying real estate, that also rentals in New York City are super high. They're out of control, the prices. So if you have a little extra cash, instead of investing in the stock market, invest in a home. It's always a good investment. I've made money when I've bought and sold my homes, best investments I've ever made. And I really believe in the whole process, and I'm here to help anyone. If someone is interested in starting and they have questions, want to join Brown Harris Stevens, want to learn more about real estate, happy to talk to them.
Perfect. How can people reach out to you if they got interested now and would like to contact you?
My email. You want me to, should I type it in or just say it?
You can say it, and then I will also put it into the show notes.
Okay, so my email is Saenz, which is ASAENZ at bhsusa.com. You could always Google me and find me on the Brown Harris Stevens website.
Perfect.
Follow me on Instagram. Andrea Saenz, New York City.
Perfect. Amazing. Andrea, thank you so much for your for all your information. I really appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure to get a market update and to talk with people from Manhattan. And I'm sending the best regards to New York City, and we talk soon.
Okay, great. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.